4x squared plus 8x plus 3 equals 0 by quadratic formula. Read other methods. So you'll read the other method. We're not going over that, but I am talking about the quadratic formula variation. So A will equal 4, B will equal 8, C will equal 3. So x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 from the formula, 4 because it's A, and 3 because it's C, all over 2 times the 4. So first, under the radical. So I have 8 squared minus 4 times 4 times 3. That is 64 minus 48. Your calculator will tell you the same thing, which is 16. Second, square root of 16 is 4. Last, there's no I, there's no radical. So x equals negative 8 plus or minus just 4 over 8. So because there's no I and because there's no radical, these can actually be done. Negative 8 minus 4 over 8 or negative 8 plus 4 over 8. Okay? So plus or minus. Some people will ask, can we cancel the 4 all 3 ways? You can, and I'll talk about that. Okay? Negative 12 over 8, which is negative 3 halves. This one is negative 4. Actually, let me go ahead and keep these separate for now. So negative 12 over 8, which is negative 3 halves. This is negative 8 plus 4, which is negative 4 over 8, which is negative 1 half. So x equals negative 3 halves, negative 1 half. Okay? Other people might ask, could we take the 4 into both of these? So if we have, or 4 divides all terms. So we could do x equals negative 2 plus or minus 1 over 8 divided by 4 is 2. Divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. So that would give you negative 2 minus 1 over 2, negative 2 plus 1 over 2. Negative 3 halves, negative 1 half. X equals negative 3 halves, negative 1 half. Okay? So it really doesn't matter when you cancel once you get to this point. Okay? All right. Let me go ahead and get all these off the board. We gave you there was a lot of tools discussed today. And I thought this last page might make a nice summary. Okay, so example 19, we're going to be doing the problems on this page as a recap. So we're going to run down the checklist here that's on the top of the last page that includes examples 19 through 23. Okay, the first thing you want to do is, first of all, determine if there's any simplifications needing to be done, fractions to be cleared, bring one side to 0, descending order stuff. And then once you've got them in descending order with just something x squared, something x, and a constant if anything, okay, then we proceed with these. First of all, step 2, determine if the quadratic equation is easily factorable. Solve by factoring if so. For trinomial, is the quadratic coefficient 1? Can we find two factors of this that add to that? Yes, and yes. So it's factorable. I've got two factors of 28 that x and x, two factors of 28 that to negative 11, negative 4, negative 7. Okay, so x minus 4 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0. Add your 4, x equals 4, add your 7, x equals 7. So x equals 4 and 7. Example 20. At 2x squared equals 50x. First of all, we want to bring one side to 0. So 2x squared minus 50x equals 0. Both of these terms have a 2x. So that leaves me an x minus 25 over here. So 2x equals 0, x minus 25 equals 0. Divide off your 2, x equals 0. Okay, over here, add your 25. X equals 25. So x equals 0 and 25. So this was a binomial when it was all said and done. So it had a common monomial factor. Okay. Example 21. X squared minus 25. Well, for two terms, so 2c, for two terms, if there's a difference of squares, then factor. This is a difference of squares, factor. That's what I would do normally. Or that's what I would recommend doing normally. Okay? So, x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. Subtract your 5, x equals negative 5. Okay? Add your 5, x equals 5. So x equals negative 5 and 5. So that's example 21 using factoring. Okay? You could also have used the square root property. If x squared equals k, then x equals plus or minus the square root of that k. So that would work here too. You got x squared and a constant. Add your 25 back, you'd have x squared. Add your 25, add your 25. So you could have done this. Okay, add your 25, add your 25. X equals plus or minus the square root of 25. X equals plus or minus 5. Okay, so that works. So, but this next example has no alternatives. X squared plus 116 equals 0. So determine if the quadratic, so step 2, determine if the quadratic equation is easily factorable. This is not factorable in any way, shape, or form. So step 3, if a non-factorable quadratic side has two terms, which is one quadratic term and a constant, then use the square root property. So two terms, x squared and a constant. I would use the square root property. So we want to get the x squared by its lonesome. X squared equals negative 116. So x itself equals plus or minus the square root of that negative 116. Factor out the imaginary unit, you got your square root of 116. Factor out the I. Okay? Square root of positive 116. 116 is divisible by 4. Okay? When 16 divided by 4 is 29. So x equals plus or minus, I move the square root of 2 out the front, the square root of 4, which is 2 out the front, 2i, square root of 29. Don't put the plus minus in between. That's not the correct scenario for that. Finally, I'm going to remove examples 21 and 22 and example 20 as well. Okay. Finally, example 23. X squared plus 6x plus 34 equals 0. The first thing I would do, okay, so go down my list, determine if the quadratic equation is easily factorable. Solve by factoring of self. For a trinomial, is the quadratic coefficient 1? Yes. Can I come up with find two factors of 34 that add up to 6? No. There's no pair of factors of 34 that add up to 6. So we have a choice of methods. We could either complete the square, or use quadratic formula. This time I'll use the quadratic formula first. Okay, so A is 1, B is 6, C is 34, X equals negative 6 plus or minus square root of 6 squared minus 4 times the 1 times the 34 all over 2 times the 1. So first, under the radical. So 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 34. 36 minus 4 times 34. I don't have the paper with me right now. 136 gives me negative 100. Second, square root of negative 100. Well, square root of negative 100, I could factor out the imaginary unit. Gives me a square root of positive 100, which is 10, so 10i. Last, x equals 6 plus or minus 10i over 2. 2 divides both of them evenly. X equals 3 plus or minus 5i. They're both divisible by 2, so I do it. Okay? The other option is to complete the square. So we'll subtract the 34 from both sides. Subtract, subtract. We're going to be cutting something in half and squaring the result. That something is the 6. 3 squared is 9. Add to both sides. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals negative 34 plus 9. Okay, 2 factors of 9.5, well, x and x. 2 factors of 9.5 is 6, 3 and 3. Positive 3, positive 3. And this is going to be negative 25. So x plus 3 squared equals negative 25. So x plus 3 itself equals plus or minus the square root of negative 25, which is square root of negative 25 is just plain and simple 5i. Subtractor 3, subtractor 3. Put the real component first, the imaginary component second, which means back over here, see that minus? I missed it. Sorry. Okay? And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Okay?